Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to Operation Agency Freedom, where we are bringing you top secret advice from the world's most badass digital agency owners and influencers. These amazing men and women are sharing their stories of how they have built 6, 7, and 8-figure digital agencies and how you can too. My name is Chris Martinez, CEO of Dude, where we help digital agencies by giving them the people and the processes so that they can scale profitably. And today I am joined by Brent Weaver from UGurus. What's up, Brent?
Good to be here, man. Thanks for having me on your show, Chris.
Man, dude, I'm so happy that you're here. And, you and I were actually introduced fairly recently. I believe it was Nicholas Kusmich who made the intro.
Yeah. Nick's a great guy. He's been a speaker at one of our events, and he's really helped our community level up his Facebook stuff, and just an all-around awesome guy.
Yeah, well, and you're coming live from Denver, I think it is, right? Or just outside Denver?
Yeah, I'm based in Castle Rock, Colorado. It's about an hour south of Denver.
Awesome.
The suburbs of the suburbs. We actually are. There's like the suburbs of Denver, and then there's like a lot of blank space, and then there's Castle Rock, right?
Oh, that's cool, though. I mean, I'm sure it's very peaceful and serene.
Yeah. Lots of places to romp for the kids.
That's awesome, right? So we're going to get into your story and what you're doing now with UGurus in a second. But as always, we're going to start off with a little roundtable discussion. And as we were going through your bio, we noticed that you got started in entrepreneurship at a relatively young age and as a teenager. And so I want to talk about that because I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship. I've tried to mentor younger entrepreneurs. I did like a Shark Tank thing at a couple of high schools. So, what's your take on young entrepreneurships? Are you raising your kids, or do you hope that they one day become entrepreneurs? What's your thoughts?
Yeah. So, when I started my business, I was 17 years old. I was in high school. My business partner was actually in lunch detention. So I was not in lunch detention, but the business did kind of start in lunch detention in a way. I was doing some stuff with websites.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a gaming website, and I had a server, and I couldn't pay for it anymore because I was working at a fabric store, and I was making about $150 a month on my weekends. And our website was getting a lot of traffic, and I couldn't afford the $500 a month in server fees. So somebody said, well, you can make websites, so you should make websites for other people. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And all I knew how to do was design. My programmer abandoned me at some point. So I had to find somebody to kind of help me out on the website side. And I had heard that this guy Steve was doing and making some money online. So I went up to him in lunch detention, and literally it was like, I think of it as much more romantic in my mind now, but it was like, dude, I heard you made some money on the internet. And he was like, yeah, man. And I was like, want to come over to my house after school and like work on that, right? Like, I mean, that's probably like in reality, right? Like how it was, right? And so, we started he came over to my house after school, and we just started to scheme, and we found a couple of clients, people that were willing to pay us, at first, like our first client was $500, and then it was $1,000. And then, after about a month, somebody paid us $2,000 cash to build them this website for this import-export business. And so I went in and I quit my job at the fabric store and kind of never looked back. So we had this business kind of in high school, and it kind of kept going. It was like a hobby for 3 or 4 years, and then we finally took it full time after college.
Wow, that's amazing. I can just picture you like taking off your apron and be like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, it was literally like I was making $6.75 an hour, and I went in to my boss and I was like, hey, I made money doing this thing on the web, and it's coming out to be more like $150, $200 an hour. And I think I just need to leave this thing. And she was like, tell me more about this internet thing. And I was like, no, I'm out of here, right?
That's awesome. I remember, so my very first W-2 job was at Chuck E. Cheese. I was a cashier, and I, for the first 90 days, at least out here in California, it was a trial period or a training period, so they could pay you less than the minimum wage. So I was making $4.54 an hour.
Oh, that's just brutal.
Painful. But, you know, I was 17 years old, 16, 17, so I didn't really have that many expenses. But still, you know, it wasn't a whole lot of money.
Yeah, it beats working for your parents doing chores for like $1 an hour or whatever they get away with.
That's true. So let me ask you this question then about entrepreneurship for kids. You know, did your parents encourage you? Do you think that there is like a training program for kids who want to become entrepreneurs? What's kind of like your take on that?
I mean, is there a training program? Yeah. I mean, you know, I was a volunteer for a while with a program called Junior Achievement, which is kind of business training for high school kids, high school and middle school. So they go in and do like business and kind of financial awareness education. And so I actually did I taught one of their programs where we had high school kids create like a mock business. I mean, it was a real business in that they actually did get investors. They sold like water bottles, you know, they had to like deal with suppliers and market themselves and that kind of stuff. So that was cool, right? So there are programs like that. I did not do any of those programs. Like I said, I had this need, right? I needed to make some money to pay for something, right? Which is, I think, one of the core reasons why most people start a business.
Yeah.
You know, my parents, you know, maybe entrepreneurial. Like I definitely had some entrepreneurs on my mom's side of the family. My mom was not an entrepreneur necessarily. I didn't grow up. My dad's a petroleum engineer. You know, didn't really grow up as an entrepreneur. My dad was always fascinated with the story of Ray Kroc and McDonald's. And I remember he was like, he taught me a lot about that. Like, you know, I did a school report on it and stuff like that. But really, I think I always had this interest to sell stuff. Like even from like the very earliest memories I had, like going to the beach as a family, you know, I'd go collect shells on the beach and then sell them on the boardwalk. When kids made friendship bracelets, I tried to turn it into a factory and sell friendship bracelets for like $1 a piece, right?
Yeah.
When my friends and I got into drawing race cars and I started to, you know, have people draw these pictures of race cars and sell them to other kids in my class. And I would always get in trouble for it because apparently we weren't supposed to sell stuff at school. You know, so I was always selling stuff. And I think my parents just tolerated it. You know, so I think that's like one way to do it is just kind of allow it to happen and see where it goes. They weren't always super excited about it because, you know, instead of doing my, you know, algebra homework, I was reading books on programming websites.
Right.
So sometimes, you know, it was kind of this big distraction from my studies and maybe, you know, a lot of kids rebel in high school. And I think in a way that was part of me rebelling against my parents was like, oh, you want me to do school? I'm going to do my own thing. Right. And so, you know, they didn't necessarily like fully stop it, but it wasn't like they were sending me to entrepreneur camp or something, right? They were just kind of tolerating it, but kind of like, you know, we wish you'd focus on your studies type of thing. But these days, I think there's a lot of infrastructure for kids to lean into that between all the code camps, junior achievement, you know, startup incubators that are taking kids as young as, you know, 18 and things like that. I mean, there's the, what's his name? Peter Thiel has like the no college thing. Like instead of going to college, he'll give you $100,000 grant to start a business, right? I mean, there's stuff like that now that there really wasn't available 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, my question, and you kind of had the same thing as me, is where like, I always wanted to sell something. I was always very interested in business and creating. For me, I consider business like part of my creative outlet. Cause I'm not a designer or developer. But do you think that it kind of has to be, there's an aspect of being a true entrepreneur that's just part of your personality and that it's not something that can be taught? Because it sounds like you had the entrepreneurship bug probably even before you knew that you were an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I mean, I think Gary Vaynerchuk says, you know, if you're asking yourself that question of, am I an entrepreneur?
You're not an entrepreneur.
You're not an entrepreneur. I don't know if I fully agree with that because I actually grappled with the label of entrepreneur.
Me too,
for several years. I don't know what the deal was. Like there's like all these stereotypes about what it is or isn't. And I think my understanding of entrepreneurship was really underdeveloped. I looked at myself as somebody that was able to build websites and code and program. You know, I looked at myself as a web designer. maybe even go as far as a freelancer or a small business owner. But the idea of entrepreneurship, of like taking calculated risks, and that was something that was a little bit further away from me. But I think if you're looking to do your own thing and looking to make money with it, and you're coming up with ideas, and not just the ideas, but willing to do the work, right?
Yes.
The idea is like the force multiplier, right? But it's the work that really makes it happen. So I think if you're willing to sell stuff and make money, and willing to put yourself out there, I mean, I think there's a good chance you're an entrepreneur.
Perfect. Well, this is a great segue for us to get into what it is that you do now, because I know that you talk to a lot of web designers, web developers, and I'm sure you help them to embrace entrepreneurship and to really build it into something big, because that's what you did. So let's start with, like you really go full force into the agency. I don't exactly know what year that was, but then you built it up, and you had this, the dream that everybody's looking for. You had the big exit. So just really quickly talk about your journey with your agency, and then we'll dive really deep into UGurus.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the first few years, as I mentioned, were kind of part-time. We were going to school, and in the last year of college, the business started to kind of take off. We were getting some bigger opportunities. We got a really big pitch opportunity out in California.
Mm-hmm.
For
what year is this? Around what year is this?
Yeah, so probably from 1999 to 2002, 2003, it was like we did it nights and weekends.
Okay.
We were actually involved in a couple of other businesses, a golf product company that we were selling e-commerce online, that we ended up selling that business, and some other stuff. But the web design company, around 2003, we basically said, we got this big opportunity out in California. It was pretty much a six-figure deal. I think it was just a tad under that. And so we flew out, made the big pitch, but we ended up not getting the deal. But it was during those conversations with my business partner that we were like, is this what we want to do? Like, do we want to go do our own thing and have a business? Or are we going to try to have go out and have a career and like get jobs? And both of us were like 100% behind the agency. So we're like, you know what, let's just start doing it. Like, why don't we just do this full time now? And so we actually kind of both left in our last semester, which in hindsight, was the right thing. At the time, it seemed kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure not just to you, to everybody else, like your parents, I'm sure they were like, you're going to do what?
Yeah. They were basically like, yeah, we've been helping you with college, but we're not going to help you with this. So put your money where your mouth is, I guess. So we started, we really went full time in the business at that point. Right. And we were in Boulder. We moved down to Denver and opened an office right on the 16th Street Promenade, 16th Street Mall, around 2006. So that's where we basically had we went from a couple of guys in the apartment banging out websites and getting jobs on Craigslist, like left and right, and just like everything that we could get our hands on. And then we started getting better and better deals. We started working with some pretty big nonprofits, and we got a big break with a big oil company in Denver that had us start building a lot of websites and custom applications. I mean, multi-billion-dollar company. So basically, as much as we could give them, they were like throwing on us. And same thing with the big association that we started working with. So we opened an office in downtown Denver in 2006. Started hiring employees. Doing everything that we thought we should do, scaling up. We had the cool conference room with the flat panel and the two-tone paint and the ping pong table and all these desks and people and we literally had no idea really how to sell and market our business. And so we got like fully upside down. I mean, I always tell people about this, by 2008, we owed the IRS $135,000. We were about 2 months behind on payroll, 3 months behind on rent. We were literally switching internet service providers so that we could keep our internet on because we couldn't pay. Like, we were 4 months behind on that. Right? We literally did we scaled this business up, but we had no idea how to actually run a business.
Right.
So it was like this big wake up call. We had to go out and get a bunch of debt to keep the business open. And it was in 2007 that we started to bring on. 2007, 2008, bring on like a lot of mentors and, coaches and consultants to teach us how to market, how to sell, how to run our operations, how to run finance. Right. And so we stopped thinking about ourselves as web designers, and we started really thinking about ourselves as entrepreneurs, as the business owners, because we had created this whole mess for ourselves. Right.
Yep, absolutely.
So from 2007 to 2012, we really like those were the years we really hit our stride. We went from upside down to 14-person, very profitable agency, systems and processes for everything from marketing, sales, operations, finance, and admin. And we had over 300 clients in our active management. And we decided that I had been doing a lot of coaching for other agencies.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, I was getting a lot of fulfillment out of it. And we were seeing the results we could create for people. And at that time, I kind of had created 2 businesses. There was the coaching and training business, and there was the agency. And we decided to split them off and sell the agency.
Wow, that's great. Now, did you find that once you got a handle of everything in around 2007, 2008, and I'm guessing that around that time, that's when you started to do the coaching as well, right?
We actually, no. So I didn't start, we opened a training program. We used to work in this market called Business Catalyst. And so we opened up, I started blogging about this content management system, how we were making money with it, basically in 2009. And in 2010, we launched our first course.
Okay, great.
So it was like $100 a month and that kind of thing. So it was a couple of years before we exited the agency. So we, it was kind of a hobby, a side thing. Like I'd spend a little bit of time on it here and there. Yeah, that happened in 2010. And then we sold the agency in 2012.
Perfect. Did you find that when you started to teach that you ended up becoming a better leader in the agency as well?
Yeah. Yeah. When you have a sales process and you're like, okay, this works, but you're kind of doing it half instinctually. You're just kind of doing it. Like especially when you're the one that's the one responsible for it and you haven't trained anybody else on it. I could kind of run it from my memory and I could kind of run it based on how I thought, I could kind of feel my way through it. But some people were starting to reach out to me and saying, okay, well, Brent, you've created like the most successful agency in this partnership network. Like, how are you doing that? And when I had to start to like take that and put it on paper and then apply it to somebody else's business. And then they would come back and be like, well, hey, like I did what you said to do, but like it didn't work. And then I'd be like, oh, well, no, you forgot to do this thing. And they're like, but you didn't tell me about that. Right. So there was like this, like both in the process and like putting it on paper, but also the feedback loop made me start to recognize like which parts of my process were actually the keys to making it effective and which were just things that I might have been doing, but weren't really actually that important.
Yeah. That alone is like so genius. And nobody like thinks about that. It's the feedback and the little details that are those little hinges that are swinging the big doors that are leading to success. I love that. So let's just fast forward a bit. So you end up selling the agency, which is like the dream exit that I think most people have in the agency world. Everybody, they want to build it up and then they want to sell it and they want to start something else.
Yeah, that might be the dream of most businesses, but yeah, okay. Maybe agencies have that sentiment, maybe 1% more than the dry cleaner down the street.
Okay, so then that's when UGurus was started, correct?
Yeah, so we basically we sold the agency, and 30 days later we signed the operating agreement and the articles of incorporation for UGurus. Yeah.
Awesome. And so let's talk about that because I know that you're 100% full force with UGurus. Talk about that and what you're doing and how you're helping digital agency owners.
Yeah. So so I look at it, I go, look, I had, let's call it 12 or 13 years to really grow a successful agency. And maybe it was like 8 of those years that were really like learning how to do it, kind of the right way. And then maybe there was like those 6 really effective years where it was like profitable, taking enough cash, all that kind of stuff. And I see people out there that are starting their journey today. And I'm like, well, I would hate to have you have to spend that much time and that much heartache and like deal with the IRS agents and having to like
borrow money,
layoffs, borrow money. I mean, all the things that I had kind of went through, and I can't help people avoid all of that stuff. But I looked at it, I said, look, if we can help people accelerate, take everything that we learned from all of the hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent on coaches and consultants and programs, if we can basically help them do that in a truncated time, like get their feet underneath them within like 10 weeks, help them to really get stride in their agency, dominate their market, start scaling their business within a year to 3 years instead of 8 to 13 years. I thought that would be really something special in the marketplace. And so we started to look at that. in 2012 with our business, of really like taking everything that we had learned in terms of running businesses and helping agency owners do that on a much more accelerated timeline. And so we've really come to focus on kind of three core areas. One is we provide best-in-class business training, and we have a whole model of how we look at the agency business. We provide coaching and mentorship because, even if I don't know if you guys have ever gotten a course and you like did everything the course said, but maybe your market's a little different, or maybe your business is a little different, or maybe your services are a little different. And for some reason, the course just doesn't work for you. We realized early on after selling courses that we didn't like that. We didn't like when people weren't able to have success with it. So we added a lot of coaching and mentorship so that we could make those small tweaks to take our programs and make them work really effectively. And also accountability, right? When you're running your business by yourself, just having somebody kind of throw you back in the ring. I had a call for like almost 2 hours this morning where one of my clients, like, she hit a brick wall and she was like ready to throw her arms up and give up. And I just had to like get on the phone and part of it was just emotional support of being there, but also going, hey, let's just calm down and let's build the issues list. Let's look at the issues and let's solve the issues, right? And live to fight another day, right? And so sometimes we have to do that in the coaching space a lot. So we added that as a key component to our programs, and then also the community angle, which is, as an entrepreneur, I've learned that having other entrepreneurs to lean on, to call when you're frustrated or down, or just to learn from, right? See what they're doing and seeing what's successful and what works for them and applying that to your own business. So we have those three components: training, coaching, and community.
That's awesome. What would you say are some of the most common issues that agency owners come to you with?
So we categorize issues around kind of three core buckets: attract, win, and delight. So if you think about your agency in that context of your issues are either around you're not attracting enough or the right kinds of clients to work with, and that could be from a myriad of issues. We're not marketing ourselves. We're not positioned correctly. We're not. We don't have systems around marketing. We don't have marketing assets like lists and things like that. Win is really about how to create effective sales systems. We don't teach our clients how to do sales. We teach them how to win deals. In my world, those are two different things. I don't care if you're the best salesperson in the world. We want you to win effective projects for your agency. And so we'll look at that. Like, what are you offering? How are you offering it? What's your sales system or mechanics, right? So work on that component. And then what we call delight. So we don't want to have clients that we just deliver the work to. We want to actually delight them. We want to make them ecstatic about interacting with our agency. And some of that comes down to the work that you provide, but it's also about providing results. Your clients really are after results. They want some end benefit, but there's also an experience component. So you can provide your client the greatest website in the world, but if your experience through that process is a nightmare, they're not going to refer you. They're not going to become a testimonial or a case study, right? So we look at that as the whole kind of experience. So agencies, in our experience, the problems that they have are in one of those buckets. Now it's crazy because you'll have a problem in one of those buckets, and they'll come to us and say, "Oh, I have a sales problem, and I need to learn how to be better at sales." And so we'll start to talk to them. I'll be like, "All right, well, how many? What's your close rate?" "Oh, I'm closing 85 or 90% of my deals." "How many leads do you get in a month?" "Probably one." All right, cool. Cool. That's not a sales problem, right? Like, well, let's put sales in a parking lot. Like, right? We have an issue of awareness. People in the world don't know about the great work you do. There's a marketing problem there, right? So sometimes that's probably one of the biggest issues that we find is clarity. Are we clear about what the actual core issue is that we're working on? We got to get clear on that first. Then once we get clear, we can kind of zero in. And usually what we'll do with our clients is say, look, okay, for the next 3 months, we just want you to focus on attract. We're just going to work on your marketing systems. Like, you got all this other stuff going on in your agency. We're going to leave that to you. Between you and us, we're going to focus on this lead gen problem. And until we get that solved, we're not going to move on to these other areas of the business.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love how, because even the agency owners, their clients are coming to them and they say, "I need a new website." And then once you do your thorough needs analysis and your discovery, then you realize, hey, it's not just the website, right? You're selling the full solution.
Right. Or it could be the website, right? I mean, I had clients back in the day that came to us and, their site was like, it was okay. But, when we popped the hood and looked at Google Analytics, they were getting, 25 visits a week.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, they're like, oh, we're not getting leads from our website, and we could have gone in there and revamped their website 6 times. But if the 25 visitors a week was the only traffic they had, like even the best website was going to be a waste of investment. Right. And some of those businesses had already redone their website 3 times. We just don't get it. Why we can't get leads from our website. Right. And nobody looked at it and said, well, because you have a traffic problem.
Right. Yep.
And so I think that's how you have to work with your clients, is like understand those results that they're after and get to the root of the problem, right? Is the problem the website, or is the problem that they're not getting enough traffic? Is the problem their content? Is the problem their brand, right? Are they off brand? Like, are you trying to sell a luxury product to a Walmart style brand, right? I mean, that's, no matter how effective your website is, like if your brand says Walmart and your products are priced for, Tiffany's,
yep,
it's not going to work.
Yeah. Well, we got like 5 minutes left. I want to play out a scenario, right? So let's say, maybe you can describe to us like a success story or something that you've been able to help an agency out with recently. It just because I want to frame it so that people can kind of understand how you were able to take somebody from where they're, or take an agency from maybe struggling to like the next level.
Yeah. So one of my recent clients came to us, and this is a problem that I see really consistently. His agency was making, probably low 6 figures, like maybe 200 to 300K a year.
Mm-hmm.
And he, as an owner, was netting about 10% of that. He was making about $30,000 a year.
How many years in?
I'd probably be 4 or 5. Right?
Okay.
He'd been around for a little while. He had a lot of team. There was a lot of people, right? There was more of a head count than I would have liked to see at that level of business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he was, right? And he wanted to obviously fix that problem. And so we started working together, and really he was a generalist agency, which is a kind of where a lot of people find themselves. They'll take kind of any client in any niche, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that
I like to say at the beginning, your niche is CC&P. So anybody with a credit card and a pulse.
That is very accurate, right? So what ended up happening, what the situation was for him was, that created a lot of just a lot of waste, right? He was having to relearn every business that came to him. So even from a marketing and sales side, his marketing wasn't effective because he really wasn't attracting clients. He was getting clients through referrals and word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But he was investing time and energy on his website and on like social media marketing, this and that, but it really wasn't attracting anybody. The only people he was getting as clients were referral and word of mouth, and they were all over the map. From a sales component, like what we call win, he was having to relearn these businesses to go through really long discovery. And he was having to propose really complex solutions that were custom. That means that it was the first time that he had ever done that solution. Yeah. And it was, so everything was custom. So there was no benefit of of repetition or kind of scale or systematizing things, right? And then his team, because he was solving such a wide variety of problems, he had to have really expensive people. And those people were oftentimes left with huge amounts of unused capacity because they weren't being, because his projects were custom all over the map, right?
Yep.
So that's where he was when he kind of came in. And he's one of my clients where, I ask people, are you coachable, right? Are you coachable, and are you going to do the work? And he came in, and he was so unhappy. And sometimes it takes that pain to get so high that he was willing to make some really radical changes very quickly. So we niched him down into a market. We did some exploration into his past clients, his passions, where we thought he could make the most money. And we chose a market for him. We then helped him kind of build himself up as an authority in that market. And we've got some specific kind of frameworks that we use for that. But within 3 months, his new market viewed him as an authority. He was starting to get traffic into his agency website. He was starting to get some traction in that market. Let's fast forward 16 months. So we've been working together for 16 months. Mm-hmm. He now has, he no longer lives in the States. He's actually living abroad in Taiwan. So he's running his business 100% virtually.
Nice.
He has a really kind of bare bones production team that is laser focused on 2 to 3 productized services that he implements for his market. Now that happened, that learning of what his market really needs, that took us 6 to 12 months to really refine that, right? But now he's got a core offer that is 100% results based. So when he talks to his market, he doesn't talk about his services. He doesn't talk about, how many hours he's going to provide this and that for. He's 100% on, here's my offer, my program, here's the results it gets you, here's how much it costs, right? He's doing probably close to or on track to do twice as much gross revenue as he was before he came into our program. But here's the fun part. He's on pace this year to make over 250K net as the owner.
Wow, that's awesome. That is fantastic. Right? That's like a 10X or 8X on your own personal income.
Yeah. So he's very happy, right? So that's kind of like when we look at those different areas of the business of attract, win, and delight, we're really focused on each one of those buckets, right? So we want to help. We have these 3 stages of market domination: traction, authority, and scale. So he is now what we call the scale stage. He's got traction in his market. He's become an authority. He has a list of well over 1,000 people now in his market, and he's signing on clients whenever he wants, right? And now he's kind of scaling up his offer.
Wow, that's freaking amazing. Awesome, man. I'm so happy that you shared that story. So we're just about out of time. Brent, thank you so much for joining us on the show. What is the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Yeah, for sure. So you can visit us at our website at UGurus.com. If you're interested, we also have a free course. It's called my Web Design Sales Kit. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in getting that course for free on our website, it sells for $197. But if you just shoot me an email, Brent at UGurus.com. That's BRENT at UGURUS.com. Mm-hmm. Happy to give you that course for free. And also, if you're interested in just setting up a call to see if or how we might be able to help, we can do so through email.
That's awesome. And you also have an event coming up in October, right? That's one that I'll be going to.
My marketing team is listening to this right now and they're going, Brent, plug U Summit, right? Yes, we do have an event. It's called U Summit. A couple hundred digital agencies come out every year. We've had amazing speakers like, Ryan Levesque, Ryan Dice, Brad Martineau, Pia Silva, and many other awesome people every year come out and speak. And you guys are helping us with that event as one of our supporting sponsors this year. So we're really excited to have you out. October 24th, 25th, 26th in Denver, Colorado. Check it out on our website.
Awesome. All right. For any agency owners that are out there, if this podcast resonated with you, please reach out to Brent. He is one of the good guys and he can absolutely help you. To all of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in today, and make sure that you return next Thursday and every Thursday for the next episode of Operation Agency Freedom. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great day.